Welcome to Real Talk Christian Podcast, where we drink coffee and have real conversations on faith, culture, and society. This is Marc Hyde.
And Chris Fuller.
And today, we got a little bit of a different episode for you guys this time. We have no notes, but we do have a flow.
Yep.
But we're going to revisit memory lane a little bit.
Just a little.
Talk about the future and talk about some pressing matters that almost just happened here on the podcast that we're sure you guys
probably want to know.
Yeah, and probably didn't see coming. So, Fuller, you ready for this conversation?
Let's go.
Let's go.
That was the quickest comeback from let's go.
Let's go.
It's like, let's go. Okay, we're back.
That's true. That's true. But we made it, though. We're back.
We did.
Okay, so we've set a record, bro.
We have.
We set a record. This is the first time in 3 months that we've recorded 2 weekends in a row. Let's go.
Up top. All right.
So in case people don't know, maybe you're new to the podcast or newer, we've been recording almost weekly for almost 5 years now.
Yeah, getting close.
Something like that. And there were years where like it was at my house. We'd do it during the day when you worked the really crazy swing shift.
Yep.
When it was completely just
that was at your
everything was
mom's
wild.
house for a while.
No. That was more so when we couldn't get into the church.
Yeah, but it was like 3 or 4 weeks where we came to your mom's house. That was like 6 or 7 episodes.
True. That's true. So we did do that for a while.
And then we went to the church for a while.
Yep.
Then we went to your old house a couple times.
Yep.
And then now we're here.
And now we're in our permanent studio.
The permanent studio.
With our beautiful light behind our head. I think I'm out of focus again this episode on YouTube, but that's okay.
Right.
That's all right. You also know I look pretty, right? Okay, can we talk about the fact of how many people actually think that my voice is your body and your voice is my body?
I know. The big guy's got the high squeaky voice and the little guy's got the deep monotone voice.
I don't know why, though. I don't know. Do I just give the vibe off that it's like, I don't know, that I'm a grizzly bear? And you give your voice is a grass fairy voice.
If people watch the YouTube video, they would know differently because you're constantly moving and jittering as you're talking.
I look like a jitterbug.
And I'm like sitting still like, yeah, all right. Yeah.
Now, I do have to say, I have no cookies this week, guys.
No cookies.
Beth wanted me to issue a formal apology to anyone who hates hearing smacking sounds on the show and eating cookies, because and I'm not kidding. She was in the bathroom, right? Because she gets, not like pooping or nothing. Sorry, babe. But she was in the bathroom getting ready, which is when she listens to the podcast Thursday mornings. Sure. And I'm in my office, mind you, with headphones in, working. And all of a sudden, I hear her yell at me, "Stop eating cookies." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" She goes, you are driving me freaking nuts. Like, you are going to, like, I'm about to kill you right now. And you on air. And I'm like, you cannot hold real life Mark liable for anything radio Mark does.
It's not the same person.
It's not the same person.
No, it is.
But so she's making me issue a formal apology that if anyone was grossed out by my smacking sounds with cookies, come back next week and I'll do it again.
Let's see what happens if I was. No, I'm just kidding.
Anyways, can we talk about the fact that Beth made cookies and then texted us and we didn't get no cookies?
So, all right. So I'm
done my rant.
Let's move into it a little bit more because we have a lot of things to get to.
We have a lot of fun stuff to talk about. Yes, sir.
And things are going to be a little different.
Yeah.
So before we get into it, we were drinking some coffee tonight.
We were.
We've just had like a 3.5 hour long meeting.
Company meeting?
If it's
is that considered a company? I don't know. Powwow?
Podcast meeting?
Podcast powwow. Podcast powwow.
Friendship podcast review?
Oh,
I don't know.
Anyways. But we've been talking about for years of like trying to figure out what's the goal of the podcast we're trying to do.
Yeah.
And
we had an initial meeting when it all started, and we just been talking about having,
we've been grinding for 5 years.
Yeah. So anyways, but what coffee did we drink tonight?
So, all right. So I've been doing this one coffee. I think I brought it up in the podcast before, Bendix coffee a couple times.
Yep.
So the reason why I love Bendix is A, it's way cheaper than some other ones. And B, they bring it right to my door for free because I live in Michiana. So if you don't live in Michiana, you got to pay for shipping. So pretty cheap. But they're a Christian organization. And so I'm like, oh, super awesome. That's cool. But I'm paying like $13 to $14 per pound for some decently roasted coffee, right?
Right.
And so normally I would say you and I drink, I would say A quality coffie, right? If you think of like A being really good and then F for Folgers, we're like...
I mean, for the most part, we drink.
But if you got ABC quality, right?
Yeah, we're probably BA, but mostly A.
Mostly A, but sometimes we balling out a budget and go for B+.
Heck yeah.
So Bendix coffee, though, this is not a sponsorship. I would say you said that they were like a high B when you tasted it.
I would say they're a high B.
So we did their Ethiopian, which if you've been here for a while, you know your boy loves some Ethiopian.
That's the Ethiopian guy.
And it is some solid, good stuff, dude.
Yeah,
Especially for the price tag.
It was a good dessert coffee, I think is what we landed on.
Yes.
Very good back end flavor.
Like, dude, lemon loafs with that?
Yeah.
With that
little acidic, lemon in there.
What were you talking about? Like a lemon bar?
I said a tart, like a lemon tart. Or like a lemon curd. A lemon curd.
Oh.
On like a...
What is that?
On like an English scone.
Good.
Lemon curd on an English scone with some clotted cream. And this coffee would be delicious. And some people know what I'm talking about, and everybody else is like, you bougie.
You know we in America right now, right?
Yeah, I know, but dude.
Our Canadian friends are probably tracking right now.
It's delicious, let me tell you. So anyways.
It was some good. So we intentionally did French press again. We're going back to our roots, French press coffee.
This whole episode is going to be about the roots.
About the root. We came back to the roots. And an Ethiopian coffee is really rooty. It's really dirty. Definitely. It's really earthy instead of fruity flavors.
Yeah.
Then I asked you about, like, what do you think? Because I thought it was like a solid B.
Yep.
And you were like, nah, I feel like it's a B+, because you're like, you can taste the Ethiopian
at the back end.
When it hits.
On the back end.
So it's some good coffee. So if you want to try some good Ethiopian
check out Bendix.
Christian company. And also good price and probably decent shipping. Yeah, go to Bendix. I think it's just Bendix with an X, bendixcoffee.com or something like that.
Yeah, we'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah,
anyways,
definitely. All right, what review do we got,
I'm going to jump into the review, and this review is near and dear to my heart because
really,
because
is this your neighbor?
It's my boy.
Hey!
It's my boy Brian. Dad Poland says this: just sitting with brothers. This podcast digs deep into the Bible and into Christian life as a whole, while at the same time making it feel like sitting having coffee with real friends.
Let's go.
I cannot recommend this show enough. Thank you, Brian.
Absolutely. And we are not going to mail you a mini swag bag.
No, I'm going to.
Fuller can walk his butt over there and hand it to you.
I think I gave him a mini swag bag already, several of them at the Revive Fest.
Welcome to the neighborhood.
So let's dive into it. So if you notice, our flow is going a little quicker.
Yep.
And this is intentional.
Oh, they can't even see our tables. Like they can't see the fact that we have no notes.
It's the no notes.
We have no notes.
This is where we normally keep the pads at.
New news.
There's no there.
Oh wait, wrong podcast.
Anyways, so
new news. You don't know what new news is, do you?
No, but okay. So we got a flow, right? We got 3 questions, 3 things we're going to talk about.
Yep.
And it's where we're at, where we've been, where we're going as a podcast.
Yep.
So Mark, where are we at? How are we going to sum up a 3.5-hour conversation and like work board?
Okay, I got it.
And we got 20 minutes.
So as of last Friday, we killed the podcast.
Yeah. So let's dive into that just a little bit though.
So last Friday, like after we were done recording, we had like it was like 10 o'clock at night. We're hanging upstairs with Janelle for a little bit, and you're like, all right, Mark. So
this is before. Remember the last episode before we went back upstairs? We were down here.
Yeah, in between.
And that's when the heart-to-heart started.
Yeah, we got to record one first. Yeah. we got to get 2 in the bank.
Right.
And you were like, Mark, man, I've been thinking about something. And I'm like, oh, crap, what?
I mean, like I've been struggling with the podcast the last 6 months. Like just getting content, like just staying motivated to keep content rolling. I've been really struggling, Mark, for the last 6 months. And what'd you say?
Me too.
We were both there, and we're like, so what does this mean?
And I would say, like, we were at different places. I would say, because you were like, I'm tired, I'm done. And I'm like, it needs to evolve somehow because this can't keep going the way it's going.
Right. Yeah. So, for me, it's been a lot of, I just feel burned out. Mm-hmm. Right. And for you, it's kind of, we're stagnant. Right. And so that's kind
of a mixture between it's stagnant and when you got 8 kids, there's just a lot of like time. We're busy. And I don't want to say like the excuse of like, oh, we're busy. It's like, no, we're busy.
Stay stinking busy. So I mean, with everything that I've been involved with and more things that I've gotten involved with, I'm a little burnt out.
Yeah. And when you say involved, and I want to say like we both have been getting way more involved in our churches.
100%. Because we honestly feel that that's our community, that's our tribe, that's where we are first called to minister outside of our homes, and so that's where we're at.
I'm in a men's group now. I volunteer every Wednesday night, doing some other stuff here and there.
Yep.
And for you took some big steps. Like you're on different committees now to try to get some things to happen.
Small groups, leading out small groups.
Yep.
Our lead pastor was on a retreat sabbatical this past summer, and so I stepped into a lot of roles to help out the associate pastor with running VBS and doing all sorts of stuff with that. And so then we had Revive Fest that we had to prepare for in the midst of all that, plus all the hardships going on in our families and health issues and just a slew of things.
Yep. And so we got to that conversation, and we pretty much said as of last Friday, like we're done. Yeah, we're just killing it, but like we're gonna land the plane on the we're gonna land the plane on the podcast.
We had 2 more episodes planned. And then we were going to do a final
finale,
farewell.
Like, bye, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, like a 2-hour, like, peace out, land the plane.
Hopefully the door doesn't hit us on the way out type situation. But
right.
But then, dude, like, so I'll tell from my side, then you tell from your side. So, okay, so we had that conversation. I went home Friday night, sad.
Right.
I woke up sad, which doesn't happen.
Yeah.
I woke up sad. I went to a men's event. We call it Man Day. Dude, check this out. We had Rise and Roll Donuts, which is Amish crap.
Yep.
We had barbecue brought in for lunch. We had a cornhole tournament. We had a speaker come and talk about how to be a prepared man in a confusing world, which is really, really good.
Nice.
We didn't. Me and Kaylin did not win the cornhole. We did real good. But in the tournament, we crushed the first round. Second round, we went up against like the top ranked dudes, and we held. But it was one of those like they just kept sinking it, and we just couldn't hang. But so I was talking to my buddy Kalen, talking to my buddy Seth about it, and they both were like, "What are you talking about? The show's ending, dude." They're like, "Are you kidding me?" And they're like, "Well, dude, but look at this thing that you and Fuller have built. You're just gonna walk away?" And I'm like, that's why I'm crying, bro. Like, don't be doing this.
It's not easy.
No.
Being cheesy.
And then, on Sunday, I'm sad. And then on Monday, I'm talking with our Catholic friend, Joe, my brother-in-law, and he goes, excuse me? You're doing what?
Right.
And we keep having these conversations of like, why would you end this really cool thing that God has been able to do and you guys have been able to be a part of? And then I had a really long conversation with Beth. Like, I didn't really work most of Tuesday morning, to be honest. I had a really long conversation at the dinner table. Breakfast time with Beth, and at the end, I'm like, babe, I don't know if I'm done with this. Like, I don't think I'm done. Like, right. I feel like the show has to go on in some way, shape, or form. We want to continue pouring into the community. We want to, especially for you guys as listeners, we've made such cool relationships. I don't want to lose those. Now, Jesse, you're stuck with me for life, bro. So, but we don't want to lose all these, and you too, Zach, but we don't want to lose all these different friendships and connections to community and people that are finding faith because of the podcast.
Yeah, and I mean, that was never the point anyways.
No.
What we had said when we were going to cancel RTC for
early days.
Well, so it was going to be, we're going to cancel and stop putting out content.
Yes,
right. We were going to keep everything
at least for the foreseeable future because we were both tired.
We said we'll keep everything else running live. The Facebook group we'd still try to be active in when we could, but as far as putting out weekly content.
And so on Tuesday, I texted you and I'm like, bro, I don't think I'm done with the show yet. I got a lot of ideas. Do you want Marco Polo this week and figure out? And you're like, nah, dude, I'm thinking the same thing. Let's talk Friday.
Yeah.
Right. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, snap. Yep. And so we got to Friday. But I want to let you share your side, too, of how you were feeling after we were like, we're done.
So,
we're the show.
Friday when we were talking, it was kind of like a big relief, right? When we were, and you had said the same thing that night when we were talking about it upstairs with Janelle. And we're like, oh, this is like, it's almost like a weight lifted off our shoulders because it's not been a burden.
It's not a burden.
It's not a burden,
but it's work.
It's work, exactly. And so it's like you're working a part-time job, and that part-time you're like, yeah, I'm good. I don't have to work that part-time job. And so I was like, it was almost like a breath, like, oh, this feels good. And then I went to bed Saturday, and I wasn't or it was Friday night, and I wasn't like, I was sad. I was very sad. And I text my buddy Brian, whose review I read.
Let's go, Brian.
And Brian's, he listens, and so I said, Brian, there's 2 more episodes. There's 4 more episodes coming out, and then a final farewell, and that's going to be the close of RTC. And his response was, no, a long no. And I
just picture a guy ripping his shirt off. No.
I was, it was like, oh. And then I woke up Saturday, and man, I was just I was very sad. Sunday, very sad. Almost depressed, but not quite. No.
It was different. It was different.
Yeah, it was
grieving. It was grief. It was lament. It was lament.
Grief
grief
is a good word for it. It was grieving over it. And I went to my in-laws' house for that for Piper's birthday that night, or maybe it was Saturday night. I can't remember. It was Saturday night, and I was explaining to my father-in-law. And I was like, yeah, there's like a grieving process going on right now.
And that's true. Because it's not just. Like when I killed the Small Church Media podcast, I was 80 episodes in. It was cool, but it was time, and it was. I look back, I'm like, it was awesome. I enjoyed it. But this is different.
This is different, right?
This is different.
So Sunday morning, I go to church, and we're studying. We've been studying Ezra and Nehemiah, and Pastor Scott preaches a sermon about how they had just finished building the wall around Jerusalem. Nehemiah had just come back. They had built it in 52 days or something crazy,
which is nuts.
that's why they knew it was God, and everybody around them knew it was God that did it for them, basically through them. And he was talking about the rulers around the area trying to discourage and trying to basically going to kill probably Nehemiah, or at least, bullying.
There's a lot of threats, yeah.
And how in life, we can't, basically he was talking about how sometimes stuff like that gets us down. You can't let things get us down. We got to keep doing the work for the Lord, right? And
do the work, put in the rest.
The sermon, I'm looking at him, I'm like, you living in my brain right now? Come on, Scott.
Which, let's be honest,
we haven't had one of them moments in a long time.
I know, wait a minute, because we used to sit there in service and be like, he's preaching our content.
Right.
Does Scott listen to our podcast before we release it?
Yeah, because it was like we would record it on Friday, and then Sunday he'd be preaching. I'm like, wait a second here, hang on.
That brother had access to our Evernote.
Yeah, I don't know how that happened, but anyways, so that's what happened with me. And then I was very grieving Monday, and I was Marco Polo back with my friend Paul, and we're talking about it. I'm like, man, just pray for me because I'm really struggling right now. And then Mark reached out Tuesday. He's like, bro, I don't think we're done. He goes, I think we got to keep doing this. I feel like we got to keep doing this, and I've got some ideas of how we can maybe help this out in this season. I'm like, I'm with you, man. Let's talk Friday. And so
today's Friday.
So that's where we are.
Yep.
Right now, I want to do a quick recap of our old conversation, how the podcast started.
Yeah, dude.
Where we were at, where we've been.
Mm-hmm.
And then where we're gonna go, right?
What's coming down the pike? Yeah.
So I mean, we did this whole board. I got
a massive what was that?
It's a 4 by 5.
I don't know. It's huge.
It's a 4 by 5.
And we filled it up 3 times.
Yeah, we've been erased. My hands were black. I had to wash them like 3 times. So we filled up and we said, all right, we started off. What was the old goals of when we started? Like when we first sat down at Starbucks, like what started? So
which I did find the old logo.
You did that.
And the old questionnaire. Here's the first 5 questions we want to talk about.
And the first logo was like a rough sketch. I was like, here's what I had in my idea in my mind.
It wasn't a rough sketch. It was bad.
It was a terrible, terrible sketch.
It was an idea.
But it was an idea that Mark took and ran with it, and that's how we got that logo right there. It turned out great. Anyways, so the very first thing we talked about during then was I'm going to just go ahead and read down.
Absolutely.
And then I'm going to let you do the reading down the new goals we have, and then we'll talk about what the season looks like.
Okay.
Sound good?
Sounds good.
All right. So the past 5 years of RTC, these are kind of the goals that we had at the beginning, in the middle, and kind of where we've been at, right? And those were conversations that the church doesn't talk about, right? That's
number one.
Real conversations with real people about faith, culture, and society. That's old school. That's what we used to say.
Yep.
And we really were using this as a teaching ministry. This is number 2 teaching ministry to the church, where we were trying to help people, and this kind of ties into a little bit of stuff later on, but help minister to you all who are in the church, and almost taking like we care for your hearts. We want to make sure you guys are being built up and equipped in the faith.
It was a teaching arm.
It was 100%, and we were actually kind of an arm from Southside at that time. We had kind of run it by some of the elders there, and they're like, "Yeah, go ahead, go do it." Now we didn't do it in the name of Southside, but we did it with their blessing and kind of their sending.
If you go to Facebook, click the Facebook profile picture, you'll see Southside's logo in the bottom right.
100%. Still there. So, and then the third thing in the very beginning for us, it was a very media outlet for Mark and I. Mark is as a graphic design. He's huge into graphic design, website development, and stuff like that. I was in some of that stuff early on, and so we just kind of married those together and different ideas and what do we want to do. I was also into a lot of music and recording, and so that just kind of, we took those experiences and we melded them together.
And I want to say this too, because I mentioned this here. I was waiting to see if you're going to mention it. You have a beautiful gift, and you always wanted to do it where, what can I use a creative medium to tell people about Jesus?
Right, exactly.
Because you're big. You talked about on the show. Your big thing was you wanted to work for Big Idea Studios.
Yeah, 100%.
Creative ideas to get the gospel across.
100%.
Podcast. We could try.
We could do it. And
we're
the funny
two
thing
white dudes at Starbucks. It makes sense, right?
Our friends from the Dudes and Dads podcast, like that's what originally started this. We were talking about this, like where did the idea?
I forgot
come from, and I'm like, well, so. Our friends over at the Dudes and Dads started their podcast, and I was talking to Mark. Wow.
I'm like, Andy, Joel, where's Mike?
Yeah. Now I was talking to Mark, and we were talking about the whole aspect of ministry and churches and conversations not being had. I'm like, yeah, these guys on the Dudes and Dads podcast, like they just started this podcast, really cool. I said, I've always wanted to do like a radio ministry where we could teach and get the gospel out to people, like the old school, radio pastors.
Oh yeah, like them the radio television, Chuck Swindoll,
right? Exactly,
and
like
Charles Stanley,
right? Exactly.
Yep.
And so I'm like, but this podcast thing, it's kind of a newer thing. It's kind of similar to that, but it's all digital based. I said that'd be a cool. And so Mark and I was talking about that, and then Mark was talking about the series he was doing with the youth,
Real Talk,
on Real Talk, right? And I go, man, that would be a great idea for a podcast. We should do that. And he's like, let's go.
And we did it.
And so we did it.
3 weeks later, we started recording.
Right. So we started going through, and getting everything laid out. And so, as the podcast kept going and evolving, we really wanted to focus on one of our goals was being ambassadors for Christ, right?
Yeah.
And having a missions component where we wanted to tie missions and partner with missions and get the gospel out there and really represent Christ well to you and to everybody that we partnered with.
And there was a season, if you go back and listen to those episodes, we talk about being ambassadors a lot because that was the focus. And we talked with a lot of missionaries and people who are like back-to-back ministries, obviously Frericks, Andrew Wood,
Pastor Matt down in Southern
Pastor
Indiana.
Matt with Soul Winning. Obviously Beth, but like Ryan Coatney, Jess Ronnie. Like we were doing a lot of this. Like, what are people out there going and doing to represent you as well? So let's get him on the show. So
100%. So then after that, we really focused in and dived into biblical literacy, making sure that you guys were biblically equipped to handle the everyday questions and where to get it at. And that's where, Associate challenged us in the very beginning of the podcast to bring in the Bible more.
Yep. What does the Bible say?
Oh, I thought you were
going to do your goat sound.
Oh, yeah. Wait. So, but Pastor Brandon Soche really challenges you guys. I've listened to your guys' first few episodes. You guys talk about the Bible, but you never bring scriptures into it. And we're like, yeah, okay. You're right. So we started bringing scriptures into it. And then we really brought, like from episode 1, we really brought our life experience in, right? Mm-hmm. Telling our life story, telling how things function within us, how we view the scriptures, how we interact with people with those scriptures. And that led us into connecting with others and outreach, right? And that's how we connect with the Frericks, with Beth, with Sarah Nass, with all these different peoples. And that allowed us to help equip them and helped us to equip you by bringing their stories to you guys. And so that is like, and then honestly, I mean, the biggest thing was this whole podcast.
It's an excuse.
It's an excuse to hang out. I mean, it's not even written on the bottom of our workboard here. So
it's not by a number. It is not the overarching theme.
It's just by itself, no number. But those are like the 10 things that were our old goals and what we really focused on throughout the past 5 years.
Yeah.
So, Mark, what are the new goals we're setting for this? I'm not even gonna say this season because this season's it's got some of it tied into it.
But it's kind of more where are we going? What are we trying to do? And the thing is, we looked at all these different things, and we actually went through and put check marks next to did we complete these?
Right.
Like, to be honest, the podcast really is not that much of a fun media release outlet for us anymore. I mean, it still is. Don't get me wrong. We still love it. We still enjoy it. But it's less about we get to do a new thing, and now it's just part of our integral life. Like, this is what we do. Yeah. And so, like, we were going through and checking things off.
We're the podcast guys.
We're the podcast guys. It's like, it's what we do. And so, like, we went through and we were checking things off, and we were like, we nailed every goal.
Right.
Like, we went through and like, how do we nail each one of these goals? And I mean, obviously, we could have done some better and maybe changed some things out, but we nailed our goals.
Right.
And we kind of got to the point of the fact of, is this why we're tired and stale and whatever? Because the fact of, we're just doing it now because we're supposed to.
Right.
And we got to a point where it's like, crap, I got to write another episode. Oh, man, now we got to show up and record. Now we got to do this. Now we got to do that. Oh, there goes to another Friday night. And it became a mandatory...
It became a lot of Mark and Chris putting into it rather than what it was supposed to be in the begin with. And so we're going to refocus.
We're going to remember, and we used to remember that whole refocus series?
We did.
And you'll see some of our old things come out. So we were like, okay, we got to refocus on, get back to keeping the main thing. And the main thing was the fact of Christian conversations that are centered around God and include God in all the conversations with it.
Keeping God at the center.
Keeping God in the middle. And there was one episode we talked about how to keep the God the center of your life. And we said it's not about putting God first, it's about putting God in all.
Right.
And first in all the things.
Right.
So and I remember there was one illustration I was taught where it's like, a lot of times we want to put God first and then our spouse and then our kids and then our job. But the problem is when you're at work, you can't put everything else. You got to put work first because you're at work.
But you do it for the glory of God.
Exactly. So everything involved is that's going back to God at the center of every little thing we do. And it got to the point of, no, we have to show up and record. We have to write new content. What content are we going to do? What do I want to do? What do you want to do? What sounds fun to talk about?
Right.
And it became less about, okay, so what, how are we going to honor God in this? What does God want us to do with this podcast? And more the fact of, this is what we do, so let's record. And not to say that we didn't have God in our conversations.
No.
We did it all.
God has always been central to our conversations.
But it kind of changed from instead of we get to do this, it's like we have to do this.
We're taking it back to, no, this is for God. This is not for Chris and Mark. This is not for no offense, people, but this isn't for you. This is for God. Like, whatever God's going to do with this, we've talked about it many times. We're going to let God be at the center of this again, and we refocus Him to the center rather than we had Him here, but He wasn't at the center of the podcast.
And
it was our content. It was our conversation.
Yeah. The content
was the socializing with you guys. It was, and not that any of that is a wrong or a bad thing, or that we're going to stop any of that, but we got to refocus.
No, just refocus, retune, recalibrate. Exactly. Like that's kind of what it is.
Right.
And I think that was the big conversation because I remember you brought this up. We always said from the beginning of if the podcast ever separates potentially our friendship, the podcast is dying before our friendship.
Correct.
And then if it becomes all about us and not God in the podcast, we got to kill the podcast
100%.
Because now it lost the purpose.
Right.
And so we had to recalibrate, refocus, but put God back in the middle of it. And what does that mean for you guys? Honestly, it has nothing to do with you guys. It's all about us.
Yeah, it's probably not going to look any different from you guys.
Nope, it's going to look more for us.
It's all for Mark and I, but we're sharing with you. This is a real conversation of our past 3.5 hours.
Yep. And so the next thing is, when we started, we never thought we were going to have a Facebook group and a community. So the next goal for what we're looking at is to moderate and facilitate the Facebook group and our community in a whole better new way,
and have conversations, and not just make it about being in a fun group, but really keeping God at the center focus of that group again. And we can still have fun conversations. Hey, what's your favorite topping on a pizza? But we should always figure out how to bring it back to, okay, we are a community of Christians, and how do we keep God at the center?
And we started doing some of that. I want to give a big shout out to Katie.
Yeah, definitely.
Because Katie was like, let's read the Bible together. She started that chat. We started some stuff.
Awesome.
And Katie has been crushing it. And a lot of people are jumping in with that too.
And that's what it's for.
Yes.
And that's what it's for.
And that's what we want to do. And so there's still going to be a lot of fun stuff. I'm still going to slap memes in there. Like, no question at all. And part of it is, if I put funny things and then you guys react more to it, more of the good stuff shows up in your feed. So it's also that little ploy too, but in a good way. But it's more the fact of what can we do to make the group not just join the Facebook group and ask and just kind of do this little free little flow thing, but what can we do to facilitate a really dope group? Right. And so we'll talk about what that's going to look like later.
And not just a friend group, but a group that actually pours into your life and feeds you and equips you. What does that look like? And we still haven't even fleshed that out totally yet.
We have some ideas on the board.
Heck yeah, we do. But this is just kind of where we're starting, right? This is our baseline. So.
Yep. And then the next one is be good stewards of what we have been given. So the fact of, we were like, okay, if we kill the podcast, we're not being good stewards of what we've been given. We've been given this gift to steward for a while. We don't feel like we're done stewarding it well, but we need to steward it better in our season. Yeah,
we need to stop trying to look this way or that way, and we need to focus on the here and now and what God is doing here and now.
And, in the parable of 10 talents, one guy was given 10 talents, 5 talents, 3 talents, 1 talent. God didn't expect the master didn't expect the person with 3 talents to do the same as what the guy with 10 did.
Right.
And right now, at one point, we were a season of 10 talents, but we'll talk about this a little bit more too, because of the life circumstances, because of all the things that are going on in both of our lives.
We're down to 1.
We're down to 1 talent. So we're gonna steward our 1 talent as best as we possibly can.
100%.
So the next one though is produce valuable content and meaningful content. That's the goal. So the goal isn't just to create episodes because we have to do content, but we're going to produce valuable and meaningful content. It's going to look a little bit different, though.
Right.
It's a little bit different. The next one, though, is we need to network and get better and more guests back on the show.
Yes.
That's a big one.
And start sharing other people's stories.
And that's the thing is, and we were talking the fact of the last year, like we haven't really, we get guests here and there, but when we were bringing lots of different guests in, that's when we were like, this is the podcast, like we're loving it.
Yeah, this is when we're
being poured into,
doing the
we're asking
outreach,
questions.
we're connecting with others. That was out. So it's going to be revitalizing.
We're going to revitalize that. And then there's some other things too, like like trying to figure out, okay, can we grow our YouTube presence a little bit better to reach different and more people? And then there's some personal like LLC things we got to deal with too.
That's all business
because we
stuff.
were a legitimate business LLC with taxes and everything. And, it's in one sense, and I'll talk about this, is the fact of it was good in that season that we were a very complicated, like we were a complicated entity where we literally had a tax guy, CPA doing stuff. And we were bringing in a lot of money from sponsorships, and a lot of money was going out. And now I do want to say we're going to change a little bit because, I'm just going to put it out there. We're still going to ask for help from you guys because we want to get back to going back to our roots, which is, again, providing valuable content, which means we don't just produce it, but we're sending out more Bibles. We're sending out resources. We're sending out, people have questions. Hey, we have a book for you. We're going to send it to you. And we want you to partner with us in that. So we'll talk more about that.
It's going to be more of a partnership than a business. It's going to be, hey, we're partnering with you guys to send out meaningful content to others in need.
And that goes back to, we want to facilitate the group too. So that way, if one person in the group is hurting, we can go, okay, we have some things we can send you. We're going to do it as RTC, not as RTC LLC.
Yeah, exactly. It's RTC as RTC family, not RTC LLC.
Yeah,
exactly.
and there's a lot of podcasts out there that honestly are LLCs and businesses, and we've even talked one day, it's like, do we ever get to that point?
And we may, but
for
we're
this
not.
season, man, we're going back. We're going to strip it down, get back to our roots, and truly both create the podcast again where we honor God, we enjoy it, and it still doesn't suck.
Well, and so for I would say probably the past year, we focused on, okay, what is the future hold? What is the future hold? And that was our biggest sounding gong was, what does the future hold? Where are we going in the future?
Where are we going?
And so we were always going for the next ceiling. Where's the next ceiling? How do we get there?
We crashed 2 ceilings.
Right. So at this point, we said, we're not looking to crash any more ceilings. We're looking to do whatever God's, get back to the roots, look what God has for us, and have the podcast go where God's going to lead and leave it at that. We're not going to look to break any download records or try to get more involved with, different speaking events or try to get sponsors or any of that.
Which we were doing a lot of that.
We're just, a lot of that, right? A lot of what an LLC or like a bigger podcast would be doing. And we just decided, no, we're just going to be in this season. We're just going to be and come and be here with you guys.
Yep. And so to transition then into the rest of the conversation, the show's going to change, guys.
It is.
The show's going to change. Now, it's not going away.
No.
It's going to be good. It's going to be balling.
Yep. Well,
no cap?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Sure. I don't know.
I was trying to see what other like Gen Z things I could throw in there. So, but the show is going to change. So
it's going to slap.
So the biggest thing so here's the big thing. I'll start with this and then I'll let you do two other ones. The big thing for us is over the last 5 years, besides certain seasons, like, you were out sick for like 2 months during the season?
Pretty much on and off since September. I've been having.
You've been struggling with medical issues, and then obviously I had, with Lennox, with him being born, and then with Beth and the girls, and we've taken summers off, and we've taken holidays off.
And their issues that if they have going on that we're working through with therapies and stuff like that, and what you guys are working through with therapies and stuff.
But so we probably record an average, I would say, probably close to 75 to 80% of all Fridays every single year, though.
Yeah.
All the Fridays of the year, we nail most of them here in the studio.
Right.
Whether it's one episode, sometimes we've done 3. We've honestly have done recordings on other nights during the days. We've done interviews. Like you interviewed Paul on a Saturday. I've interviewed Justin Herman, episode 11, I think, like in the middle of a Wednesday or something like that.
Right.
So we recorded, though, many, many Fridays for literally almost 5 years.
Yeah, we've given up our Fridays for almost 5 years.
And so for us personally, we're only going to record like once a month.
Yeah, so that's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
And so in this season, and we're saying this season, and we don't know when the next season is really going to be or what it's going to look like. We just know in this season, in this time, with what's going on.
Someone gives us $500,000, we can change that. But
But in this season, what we have going on right now, where we're at with these new goals, we said for family and everything that's going on, we're gonna commit to once a month getting together.
Yep.
And so that means there's a possibility, at least for a little bit, that we're only going to release an episode every other week. So that may change. We have some goals, right? We have goals to try to keep it. If we can keep it at 30 minutes or 45 minutes, we might be able to release every week.
So if you're anti-banter, you're welcome.
Yeah, because there's going to be very, very little banter, so we can get content out to you guys and make it more meaningful than just some of the fluff. Now, the banter is not. We've always enjoyed the banter. We like that. We like to be able to share with you guys. that will be taking place at random times over in the Facebook group.
Yep.
And that might just be Mark going live one day saying, hey, guys, I'm going to give you a quick update of the Hydes, and me saying, hey, here's a quick update of the Fullers, and us doing it separately. And sometimes it may be here in the studio together, kind of doing a little banter back and forth. But that will be happening all over in our Facebook group at Real Talk Christian Podcast Community.
Because here's the deal. We want, and that's the biggest thing that we've talked about, is the fact of the podcast has grown from a podcast where we're just producing content to there's a lot of you guys. There's a lot of us. This is awesome.
Now, yeah.
Like, I mean, so and some of you guys might not know this, but we have about 6,000 on average listeners every single week.
Yeah.
I would say.
Something
and
like that,
1,400 of you guys are in Facebook. So a lot of you guys have mentioned me, I'm not on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, we're doing this, whatever.
Yeah.
Which is totally cool.
Sure.
I'll judge you, but it's totally cool.
I don't have social media. We get
We're
a lot of
millennials.
emails and texts that say we don't have social media. I mean,
which is fine, but who can, the fact that we have a Facebook community of 1,400 people is nuts, but we want to honor and steward that well too. So we want to be able to show up for you guys still in the Facebook group, because
and
that's
in
what
the
it's all
emails
about.
and in the text and on Instagram. Like, we still
It's
want
hard
to
to keep up, man.
We still want to have those conversations outside of that. So those won't stop. They may just be a little bit more.
But so we're talking about potentially. I mean, it'd be dope to get back to every single week, but expect us to only drop one every other week for a little while,
at least right now. Yep.
But hopefully, one of the plans is in each of those episodes, we're going to have some more for further discussion questions that we can hang out in the group over the next week or two to talk about those things too.
After the end of each episode, if you go to our show notes, there's going to be a list of questions in the show notes, and then we'll put a little fun post on our social media accounts, and you can start the conversation.
Or what we could do, maybe you guys let us know this. I'm going off the cuff, bro.
Sure, let's go.
Do people think we should drop classic replays every other week?
I mean, we could do that.
We could do that too, where it's still every week for you guys. Bring out some of the old episodes, but you guys tell me, because you guys are the kings of the content rewinding.
For us, we're telling you, at this season in life, we can put out at least every other week. That's what we can do.
Content.
Of new content.
Yep.
So that's what we're committed.
I'm gonna shut up now.
So another thing is, we've talked about, Mark and I have a living document in Evernote that we haven't really been to for a while. And we are going to get back to that and start doing some brainstorming of some new content ideas that are really going to get back to our roots of just keeping it simple. We said, keep it simple, stupid.
Keep it simple, stupid.
And so we're going to be a lot more question-based, a lot more conversational-based.
Simple question-based. And not simple answers, we going deep.
But instead of like long, drawn-out sermon
hour and a half long
teachings, we're gonna break it up. Like we've got one that I wrote out, a big long teaching podcast that was gonna take a long time, and we're gonna end up breaking that one up into 8 episodes and really just diving a little bit deeper onto each point rather than making a 1-2 hour long episode. We're gonna make it half-hour episodes or 45-minute episodes and dig in and make it
because again, I mean, part of it's our audience is the fact of we know who you guys are, a listener base, and where you are in your spiritual journeys, and we want to meet you guys there.
Yeah.
But we were like, okay, we were looking at your episode and we're like, can we really shrink this down to 30 to 45 minutes? Absolutely not.
There's no way.
Unless it's like skirt and surface level stuff.
Yeah.
And we're like, no, we still want to have some good, again, it goes back to we want to produce valuable, meaningful content that you guys enjoy. So we want to go a little deeper into smaller topic issues.
So we're probably you're gonna see a lot more series, is what we're saying. Like, instead of like, like the one we're talking about, we'll give you a little preview.
We gonna do it?
Yeah, the series is gonna be, what does it look like to be a mature Christian, right? And there's gonna be 8 episodes on that series. Now, is it going to be sequential? Are we going to be like dropping episodes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? It might be like
the 7 Deadly Sins.
We don't know, right? Yeah, we still got a whole 7 Deadly Sins episode to finish up. So I mean, we have content ready to go that we're going to be doing over the next week. We're getting back together next Friday, but then after that, we're going to start probably doing a once a month thing.
Yep.
And we're going to still create that meaningful content that is all God centered. But in the weekly conversations, that's going to be taking place more in our social media account over on the Facebook group. So meet us there, join us there. I know Mark's pretty involved with that. I have not been as much involved because of burnout, and I've got to get back to refocusing on God myself and getting back and getting my gas tank full. We said I was like a car. Like after this last year's Revive Fest, I kind of ran out of gas, and so I got to fill
pushing hard.
I got to fill up my gas tank because I pushed it a little too hard last year, and so with all my
pause. We don't do gas tanks. We do electric cars. You got to plug in your Tesla.
I got to plug in my Teslas to the fast charger. No, so with all my medical stuff, my stuff going on with my kids, stuff going on with my job. It's just been a lot for me this year. And so I've got to refocus. I got to take a little time and refocus and get recentered on God in my own personal life so that I can continue to come to you guys and give you meaningful content that is God-centered and be not just good stewards of what God has given us, but also I want to be a good steward of your guys' heart. And we don't want to bring, I'm going to say this, we don't want to bring a teaching that isn't God-centered and that it isn't God-honoring and that is knowingly false to you guys. And sucks, but knowingly false. Like to me and Mark, we truly believe what we teach and we want to keep with that. So that's always going to be our goal. So.
And honestly, dude, it's one of those things where we both knew there was a problem when we got to the point where it's like, ugh, I got to write another podcast. I don't know what to write out anymore.
Right.
And that's not to say there's not more content, because we could definitely get more content. But let's be honest, guys, it's been like 250 episodes almost. That's a lot of stuff we've talked about.
Yeah.
But it goes back to the fact of we were at the place where it's like, I got to write another episode. I got to read. I got to write. And there's just not enough time. And we would talk where it's like, Sunday or Saturdays, we do a lot of stuff with the family. Sunday, especially for you guys at Southside, you're at church all day.
Yeah,
like
pretty much.
All day.
We come home for lunch in like 2 hours and then go back.
And then for us, like we're at church and then we're at my mom's all day. And then when she goes to church, because she still goes to Southside, we clean up and go home and put the kids to bed. And then it's like Monday, and then we have, at least for our family, we have therapies. Tuesdays, we have therapies.
Right.
Wednesday, we have church. Thursday, dang it, I got to write an episode. Friday, we're here. And then it's a cylindrical cycle. And it got to the point where, at least for me in my heart, and this is me speaking for me, it got to the fact of, again, losing the joy in the discovery, losing the joy in the process and the struggle and the grind. And because of that, it was starting to wear off onto the kids because you get tired.
Yeah.
And it's like, I got to do this. I got to do this.
Well,
You're pushing off the kids. You're pushing off, me. I'm pushing off Beth. I got to deal with all these different things. If I'm not in a good mental state, it's like, I don't want to sit here fake it till you make it because I don't want to have all these amazing, like for you guys, it's well written. It's all this good stuff. It's good quality content, but you're being preached to by a whitewashed tomb because I'm tired and dead on the inside, but I'm trying to look good.
Yeah, and
I don't want to fake it.
I want to encourage people. Mark and I, we had a lot of discussion on this too. Spiritually, we're not like, spiritually we're questioning our faith. It's just we're tired. We're just tired. That's what we are. It's not. We're still connected in our church bodies, in our tribes. We're still in the Word. We're still doing those things. We're still having our devotions. We're still doing those things.
Your boy is struggling in that department too.
Well, but we're still doing, at least you're doing the kids, catechism with the kids,
yeah.
So we're still involved. We're just,
but your boy needs to get to work.
We're just tired, right? And we want to recenter and refocus on our lives as far as our walks with Christ, our families' walks with Christ, and then after this season and things kind of calm down, with some other things going on in the Hyde's family and our family, we're going to revisit it. So our goal and our promise to you is we have Revive Fest. And for those of you who have come, we will be there again. For those who you have not been, we still encourage you to try to come. Check the show notes on this. You will see the link to get tickets.
MyReviveFest.com,
I think that's what
something
it is.
like that, yeah.
But after the Revive Fest, me and Mark are gonna have another meeting where we're gonna revisit and say, hey, is this season
what's next, baby?
Is this season gonna continue the way it is? Is the season prolonged? Or are we ready? Are we recharged? Have we recouped enough to really dive back into this and do it full blown for God? So that's our commitment to you guys. Rather than killing the podcast, we decided to restructure it in a way. And actually, we're already messing up because we're going to have to.
No, we said 45 minutes, so
yeah.
I'm not talking. I'm ready to hit the button.
So we're committing that to you guys that it's not over. We're not going to leave you guys out of the loop. We will make sure you guys stay involved with what's going on with us, and we'll probably have another one of these episodes after Revive Fest.
Absolutely, and life gets a little bit hard, and we're just trying to recalibrate, reshift, and refocus to make sure we're doing good content, but we're doing it to God's glory and not for our own.
We're doing it what we preach to you guys.
Absolutely. So ready to some fun facts?
Sure, let's do it.
Let's go. Oh, dang it. I had the wrong pads up. Can I try that again?
Go for it.
Time for Fun Facts with Filler.
That was bad, guys.
That's
My
all right.
bad.
You know what?
Bad.
It's all right. It's a new season.
My bad. No, it's not, we're halfway through season 5, bro.
No, but I'm talking about the new season of the podcast. So you're good with
that's true.
it.
I have to relearn all these things again. Thank you. All right, bro.
Anyways,
what you got for the fun fact for us tonight, my dude?
The fun fact of the day is this. The average color in our universe is a cosmic latte. Did you know that?
What?
Cosmic latte is the average color in our universe.
What does that even mean?
Astronomers observed the light coming from galaxies tended to be a beige color, like the color of like a Starbucks drink. So Starbucks probably should turn that into a drink and go ahead and
or
create
even
the cosmic
better.
coffee.
I feel like Disney, which Disney is going to get it and then charge you $20, like to infinity and beyond, like the Buzz Lightyear latte or something like that, where it's about it's the perfect color. It's the perfect color of the cosmos or something like that.
But we're claiming patent rights on this idea.
You hear that, Walt Disney? We want our monies.
Got it. So if
we
it happens,
want our monies.
We're going to go ahead and let you see this. But anyways, Mark, tell the people where they can find us.
Absolutely, guys. So we are over on Instagram and Facebook on our public pages. To be honest, we not there too much because we always hanging out inside the Facebook group. So make sure you go to RTC Online Community where you can join literally hundreds of other Christians who are just like you, maybe new to the faith, working things out in their faith, or we've even had some hot take stuff that we've been talking about over there inside inside of the podcast group, podcast Facebook group. I could dyslexia a little bit there. But so either way, join us over there. Let's continue these conversations. And yeah, I'm looking forward to continuing to meet new people and have those conversations.
Definitely. And if you haven't already, go check us out on the YouTube page. Hit that subscribe button and the bell notification so that when we're there, you are made aware, especially because we are going to be pushing a little bit shorter episodes to the YouTube. You might be more apt to come and watch us rather than just listen. Also, don't forget to check us out. If you guys aren't on social media, we have an email address, realtalkchristianpodcast@gmail.com. Also, you can text us to 574-400-5352. Mark, you got anything?
Sorry, I was making sure I saw how much time we had left.
Oh, yeah.
The other last thing, too. So here's the deal, guys. Even though we're interlacing different episodes, like every other week, we're figuring that out. There's legitimately a database of 250 episodes. And if you and your kids can watch all the Bluey episodes 20 times over, you can listen to RTC over 20 times over. It's totally okay, guys. But if you are ever curious about it, hey, did they actually talk about this episode? Go to the website, hit the search icon, type in your search, and bada bing, bada boom, a bunch of different episodes will pop up.
That's right.
But dude, I just want to say this past week has been both terrifying, sad, and amazing all in the same token.
In the words of Ron Burgundy, it's a glass cage of emotion.
Literally. But dude, I love you, bro. Seriously,
you too,
you're my brother, and I love you, man.
We're looking forward to this next season.
Absolutely. We love you guys, too. So until next time.
Take it easy.